Ken Trahan with the singer, Brian-Allee-Walsh, and Ed Daniels, ABC 26, and of course all of NewOrleans.com sports. Joe Horn announced as the inductee for the Saints Hall of Fame for 2010, that taking place today here at Episcopal's Restaurant. First of all, Ed, your thoughts about Joe Horn receiving this honor?
Well, he's probably the best receiver in Saints history, so I don't think anyone could, could gripe with that. I think the coolest thing about today is that he and Sean Payton have officially buried the hatchet, and he's going to retire as a Saint, which I think is the right thing to do. I think, as far as Joe Horn is concerned, I think that's the best news of the day.
Two of the more significant guys in the history of the Saints, Sean Payton, certainly the most accomplished coach already, and Joe Horn. It's only right that these two get along well because they are so richly ingrained in the tradition of the New Orleans Saints.
I agree totally, and it's some of the best news to come out of today's ceremony is that these guys have put their feelings behind them and kind of reconcile their differences, and it's the way it should be. I mean, it's either the perfect ending to a Super Bowl season or the perfect beginning to a season to defend. But Joe belongs as part of the Saints family. There's not a more recognizable guy in this community. When he comes out, people's faces open up, and they love Joe Horn. And Joe explains it pretty well, Kenny and Ed, that when a new coach comes in and he wants to bring in his own people, these things happen. It's not just set in New Orleans; it happens everywhere.
And then one thing, Joe Horn was one of those guys that, while he was about drawing attention to himself, I don't know if people remember how well he was after the storm and drawing attention to New Orleans and the Gulf Coast and about the Saints coming back here.
Well, I think that's, his play on the field endeared him to the people here. But after Katrina, when this city was literally on its knees, and he was a guy who was really an advocate for New Orleans. New Orleans is our home, we've got to go back. Anybody who remembers that time understands how big a deal that was for this city.
And you know what, and Eddie, that's a great point you bring up, and people like Joe Horn, and I think a number of other people, too numerous to mention here, but what Joe's feelings for this city, I will remember a lot longer than any catch he made that season.
No question.
Okay? Any catch he made, anything they did on the football field, and he's in there talking so eloquently about going into meetings and getting buzzed by a family member up in Kentucky that needs money. Just to make it another day. And here they are, they've got to worry about going to practice and trying to win a game 3 days down the road in a city God knows where they're going to play. I mean, it's just, but Joe always kept New Orleans at the front of his mind all the time.
And all of those people, he is in that group who stuck up for the city of New Orleans in our worst hour. I think he will always be a guy who is thought of very, very highly by the citizenry here, and him being in the Hall of Fame, I think, kind of cements that.
And you remember when we took a vote, since we're all members of this Hall of Fame selection committee, when the vote came for Joe Horn, there wasn't a moment's hesitation, and a part of it was certainly because of his accomplishments on the field, but I think as much as what he has meant to this organization, particularly in the time of need.
Couldn't agree more. We'd be remiss before we close not to mention the Joe Jamili Florida Lee Award co-recipients. First time that's ever happened, and of course they're inseparable. Dan Simmons and Glennon Powell. Ed, I just say Chief, I say Silky, and that's enough.
Chief and Silky, those guys have been a part of Saints War for a long time, and they have worked almost, I would say, a ridiculous amount of hours, especially during the season for this franchise. And I can't think of two guys who are ever more deserving ever to be in this organization.
Kenny, could I tell just a brief little story? I think it kind of captures what Silky and Chief has meant to this organization. It was about 30, 40 minutes after the Super Bowl victory down in Miami, and I'm walking around the clubhouse to just try and get a feel, to soak in the ambiance, if you will. And there's a room adjacent to the locker room, and there are Silky and Chief, and you can see that they've already cried their tears, and they've got the Lombardi Trophy sandwiched between them, and players and administrators are coming in to get the picture taken by Michael Hebert. And here they are, and this is just like, in some cases, 37 years, 35 years of blood, sweat, and tears, and it's standing right between them, and they're sharing this moment. And that's one of those moments that you go, man, you know what? there is a God, because he's rewarded these people with this trophy and this great accomplishment.
Richly deserving, all three. Joe Horn, along with Dan Simmons and Silky Powell, will be inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame during the football season at a weekend to be announced. And of course, you'll hear about it right here at New-Orleans.com Sports with Brian-Allee-Walsh and Daniels and Ken Trahan. Thank you.